Welcome to BCU ACES Lunch and Learn. I am super excited to have my friend, colleague, wonderful person, Sarah Doyle from the Autism Society of Central Virginia. She's the program and outreach director, but she's also a developmental psychologist like myself, and we went to grad school together, and I serve on the board for the Autism Society, so we know each other that way as well. So we are very excited for Sarah to talk about all the great things that the Autism Society is doing, and then also talk about how to build relationships through this COVID time of virtual life and being part of the community. And she is an amazing advocate for this, and I'm super excited to have her here today. So thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Stacy. What a kind introduction. Hello, everyone. As Stacy said, my name is Sarah Doyle, and I am the Program and Outreach Director at the ASDCV. And I'm really excited to be here today to talk with y'all about the work that we do at the ASDCV and how we build relationships through our virtual and community programming. And when you'll see as I go through, when I talk about relationships, I'm thinking about several different types of relationships. So relationships for and between individuals with autism, relationships between caregivers, family members, and families, and then also relationships between community service providers and the community at large. And I know not everybody is from Central Virginia, and people are here from across the state, but I'm hopeful that the information I'm sharing can be translated to your community and that you'll see some parallels as I walk through. So I'm going to start with a little bit of information about who we are and the work that we do, in case that you are not familiar with us. So we are a local nonprofit based here in Richmond, Virginia, with a mission of improving the lives of all impacted by autism by maximizing self-sufficiency, independence, and quality of life. We've been really proud for over 30 years to serve as one of the region's premier sources when it comes to education, advocacy, services, and support for individuals with autism and their networks, their families, their friends, and professionals. And we were founded, I love to share that we were founded by a group of moms in the 80s who came together to say, what's happening at your house? Is this what's happening with your kid? Who can we talk to? What can we do? How do we get support for our child, our children, and our family? And a lot of that still rings true to how we operate today. We're very grassroots, very focused on the local community, how we can support the local community, and how we can partner together to improve the lives of people with autism. Our vision is that all individuals with autism will receive early identification, appropriate treatments, support, and that they'll be able to achieve the highest quality of life. All right, so at the ASDCV, we strive to provide services, supports, and resources to meet individuals where they are on the spectrum, throughout the lifespan, and then across our service territory. We carry out our mission by offering high quality programs, services, and supports, including social, recreational, and support programming. We host educational workshops and do training in the community. We also provide information and referral services. So if there are questions or people need resources, we're happy to connect them locally at the state level, at the federal level, sometimes just in terms of what their specific needs are. We also provide scholarships and financial assistance through our scholarship program and financial assistance programs. We participate in advocacy initiatives, and we also maintain a comprehensive resource directory and send weekly emails with resources and things that are going on in the community that we think would be helpful for the community to know about. We are really proud to represent a very diverse community of individuals across the entire spectrum here in Central Virginia, and we work really hard to support the evolving and expanding needs of our local autism community through creatively and intentionally developing program services, supports, and resources. Over the past couple of years, we've really experienced tremendous growth. From 2018 to 2019, we experienced a 52% increase in our program participation. And then from 2019 to 2020, through 2020, we more than tripled our regular programming opportunities, and that was during the pandemic. And a lot of that is really attributed to the passion that we have and the dedication to collaboration and building relationships. So I'm excited to talk through some of how we do that, and you'll see that relationships are really integral to all that we do. All right, so we know that relationships are incredibly important when it comes to the quality of our lives, when it comes to meaningful participation and interaction across various aspects of our lives. But right now we're in a really unique time. And so we know that due to loss of familiar routines, fragmented support structures, financial hardship, and this list could go on and on and on when it comes to the factors that are impacting us from the COVID-19 pandemic. But we know our local autism community's need for support, programs, and resources has never been greater. We also know that times of disruption are especially difficult for individuals with autism. And even a little over a year now into this pandemic, there's still a great deal of disruption and unknown ahead of us. Given the current pandemic, individuals with autism are particularly vulnerable to social isolation, compromised mental health, thinking about anxiety and depression, and also regressions to academic, behavioral, and social progress. I'm sure that I am not alone in this group when I tell you that I have heard stories from several individuals and families talking about the impact that this pandemic has had and seeing behaviors that they hadn't seen, or seeing regressions, certain skills or certain areas of life. And it's a really challenging time that we're all in. So with COVID, we have really worked relentlessly to adapt our pre-COVID entirely in-person programming to a virtual format to provide our individuals and our families with the critical support that they need right now during the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm gonna move from my presentation for a second to a page on our website, because I felt like this is our programming page. And I felt like this would be a really great space to focus and kind of talk through some of our specific programming opportunities that we offer to build connection and examples of how we do that. So the first category I'm going to talk a little bit about is our social and recreational category. And so these programs are really intended to offer engaging, interactive opportunities for movement, for education, for skill development, maybe learning a new hobby, but then ultimately social connection. And we have got our elementary social group. This started in January, and this group meets monthly. We have also got our teen social groups for middle school and high schoolers, and this group also meets monthly. When we first headed into the pandemic, our teen social groups were meeting weekly based on the feedback that we were receiving from teens and families, and also based on the fact that we knew so much of the community was closed down or inaccessible. And so we increased the frequency of a lot of our groups. Yes, Katie.
I just wanted to say, we're not seeing the website. Would you be able to try that for me real quick?
Of course. I'm not sure why. Let me see.
We see the PowerPoint
okay.
in the editing.
All right, let's see. How about now?
There we go.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. I'm so sorry, everyone. Okay, so here are the visuals to go along with that. But as I said, we've got our elementary social group, we've got our teen social group, and then we also have our adult social group. And the adult social group is meeting twice a month, and then that is based on feedback from the group, as well as some of our other programming opportunities that we have for adults. But these are really great groups to come together and meet other individuals on the spectrum. And I think what has been so neat to see from these groups is that we're seeing kids, teens, adults from across Central Virginia who may or may not have had paths cross otherwise, get to know each other and build really meaningful relationships that carry on outside of us. So our teen group is a great space. In the 2.5 years I've been in my role, I have seen so many relationships form, and a group of them have a Friday night Minecraft night and they play together. And it's just really beautiful to see, because these are kids that, again, may not have gotten the chance to know each other, but have met each other and have really made some of their closest friends through our programming. We also offer an inclusive Lego and game club. And so this is a great opportunity we talk to our families in the community about in terms of bringing siblings, bringing neighbors, bringing classmates, and just a really great opportunity to spend time together, kids with and without autism, bonding together over Legos and games and interacting together. We also this summer put together summer camps. And so, that had been in our kind of goals for down the road. But based on COVID, and like so many of us had to just pivot quickly to respond to the needs of the community. And we were just hearing, what are we going to do this summer? What are we going to do? We typically have camp opportunities. So we put together virtual summer camps. And in this space, I think the relationships we really leaned on were community partner relationships. And so we put together really collaborative programming, pulling in community partners to host programming and kind of carry out their expertise, and then also mixed in some social skills and some pieces from our end of expertise as well. And it ended up being a really successful 6 weeks of programming. So we did theme week camps that were inclusive camps for kids in elementary school. We did 2 weeks of teen camp that really focused on social skills and life skills like independence and self-determination and cooking. And then we did a week for adults as well, where we did an evening each night of the week, we did an evening activity. So those are our social and recreational programs. I want to also highlight our programming that's open to our members. So we have kind of 2 categories, and we've got our virtual member programming and then in-person member events. And obviously the in-person member events are mostly on hold at this point, but I will talk a little bit about how we got creative and making sure that some of those opportunities were still available in 2020. So the virtual, or our member events is really, and this virtual member category specifically is really a great space to look at community partnerships and how we've really built and maintained community partnerships to bring community partners to the local autism community and create opportunities for them to get to know each other. And so in this, community partners will come and host a program for us. Maybe it's the Science Museum, the Virginia Museum for History and Culture, comedy sports, and they come and they'll do a program with us, and then they go back to their organization with the experience and knowledge of working and supporting our local autism community. So there's really like a nice kind of cycle that happens. Communities coming to us, our members are going back to those community partners, and those community partners are spreading information and support and awareness of us and what we do with other community members. So the virtual programs we offer right now, as I said, we do STEAM demonstrations with the Science Museum. We have done different activities with the Virginia Museum of History and Culture. We do virtual workouts weekly, and we alternate between River City Inclusive Gymnastics and Gentle East Martial Arts. We have comedy, sports, improv workshops. Healing Sounds is a music therapy organization that we work with. So a lot of different opportunities, and we try to think about engaging, as I said, individuals across the spectrum, across the lifespan. Our in-person member events were really missed in 2020. So we do a pool party in the winter. We do a Flying Squirrels game, which is our local baseball team. We do a summer event and get together. Then we do a pumpkin patch, a trunk or treat, and a holiday party. And so with COVID hitting when it did, we didn't get to our Flying Squirrels game. We didn't get to the summer event. But what we did is we said, okay, who are some of our community partners, or what's going on in the community? Where can we collaborate to offer outdoor activities that some of our families and individuals may feel safe participating in? So we were able to do an outing at Lewis Ginter. We were able to do a drive-in movie. We did our trunk or treat as a drive-through. And then we did the Illuminate Lights show, which is a big light, lights are set to music and you drive through. So we really tried to think about how can we bring great opportunities to the community, and how can we bring awareness about the need for education, awareness, and inclusive opportunities for our local autism community. Okay. All right, so then when we look at our support category, so this is obviously a really big one when it comes to programming that supports building of relationships. It really allows individuals participating to build new relationships and be amongst people who can say, yeah, I get that, I understand. Here's what I did if you think it might help for you. And really building their own networks of support. And we see this across our groups where, again, similar to those social groups, that caregivers or siblings or grandparents, I'm going to move down the list, but that they build relationships and then have relationships outside of our groups and bring their families together, which is really beautiful to see. We love to be a space for connection and building relationships. So we've got our caregivers of young kids support group. So this is really looking at preschool and elementary school. So a lot of time this group is kind of learning the diagnostic process or moving through that process, trying to figure out what to do after that process, what supports are available in the community. Then we have our caregivers of teens. And so this is a group for middle schoolers and high school, caregivers of middle schoolers and high schoolers. And typically this group met separately. We would have middle school in one group, high school in the other, based on offering them concurrently with the social groups. But given that we're virtual, we've merged the two. And a lot of times this group is looking at kind of what are the next steps? How do we best prepare our child for the transitions that are upcoming? Sexuality, development, puberty, all of the things that are kind of really key to this age of development as well. Then we've got our caregivers of adults. And so this is a really nice group too, that are really supportive of each other in terms of supports in the community, because we also know that when it comes to supports and resources and programming for adults, we have some major gaps in our local community, but I also think collectively as a state, as a country. So this is a really great group that forms a lot of connections in terms of being able to support each other with what's worked, what's available, and kind of navigating the systems and the supports that might be needed for adulthood. This next subset of our groups are really specific groups that we developed based on feedback from our ASDCV membership or the local community. We created in July, we created a guys group for dads and other paternal caregivers that meets monthly, and it's led by 2 of our ASDCV dads. We also created a grandparents group because we know grandparents play a really unique role in the lives of their grandchild with autism when they've got their child or their child-in-law that they're thinking about, and then their grandchild. And we've got a really incredible group of engaged grandparents who want to learn more and want to know how the community is supporting and their family and what they can do to help the community know and support more. We also just started last month a group for individuals who identify as female. We have a teen group as well as an adult group, and Stacey Carr, who gave me such a lovely introduction, she is working with us as well as UVA STAR, which is the Supporting Transformative Autism Research Group that's in Charlottesville. And we're working together to really create a space, and it's kind of a hybrid group. And talking to the girls and the women that we spoke with last month, they were interested in a space first and foremost to meet each other and to connect with other women and other girls, and then also to learn and to get access to resources. So we're really excited to see where that group goes. We also have a sibling support group, and this has been one too that I think being a sibling can be really isolating at times, and it can be really hard for other kids to understand what it's like to have a sibling or loved one with a disability. And so this group, we have seen some really incredible connections come from this group. And really important and really powerful connections that have been really impactful for the kids. And so this is a really neat group. This group also meets monthly for kids ages 7 to 13. We do have some opportunities. Some of our older teens come back and volunteer, which is great. We've got a core of about 5 of them that come and volunteer with the younger sibs. And we also have some opportunities for teen siblings as well. It's just not a core program at this time. We're building that right now. And then we've got here highlighted our information and referral as well as our online resource directory, but I'm not going to spend as much time on those right now. So when it comes to our education and training, so this is a space that we work really hard to increase education in our community, support local organizations and businesses who are asking, and they're really excited. There's a lot of enthusiasm in our local community, which we feel really grateful and really proud of. In wanting to learn more about autism and how to better support the autism community and how to make sure that what they're doing and that their space is inclusive and accepting. So one of the programs, our Autism Friendly Community program, does just that. It's a training program where we work with local businesses and organizations to provide education and training, and then consultation and technical assistance. We build resources and just making sure that we're supporting that organization, and that we can say this is an autism-friendly community space that is safe, accepting, and welcoming for your loved one or your family. So that's a really fantastic program that's really important and has been great to build partnerships. Like I said, we have several partners, community partners, who have then joined the Autism Friendly Communities program, saying we want to know more. We want to make sure that we are one of those core organizations that's supporting the local autism community. And that list of businesses and organizations just keeps growing. So we're really excited about that program. We also offer education and training through our conference series that we did this fall. We had 10 different presentations, all done virtually. But I think that is one of the perks and kind of the beauty of virtual platforms, is that we're able to reach a much bigger group of people. And so we had people from across the state, we had people from across the country, and we even had a few from Canada that were regularly participating in our programming. So that has been a really neat way to build relationships outside of our typical reach. And UVA Star is one of those, a partnership in DC with Sib Strong. That's who we're working with in terms of our teen Sibs. So it's really neat to kind of take advantage of the virtual space that we're in and connect with people that it would have been much harder logistically and resource-wise to connect outside of the virtual space. We also offer virtual workshops on a variety of topics, trying to make sure that we're picking topics that are applicable to individuals with autism, to caregivers, to local professionals, and we have transitioned those to a virtual format as well. One of the things that we have done with those in terms of thinking about relationships is we have partnered with local community organizations or local autism service providers to come in and talk about certain topics that are their expertise, or a topic that they specialize in, so that we can make sure that the community is aware of them, and then also bring the community members also to those service providers. We also held a speaker series this summer, which was fantastic. Dr. Temple Grandin kicked us off, and we did a Q&A with her. She was in her kitchen, and I felt like I was just drinking coffee with one of my role models. It was just incredible. And we had several other speakers as well. And again, that was a really neat opportunity to bring nationally renowned experts and speakers to our local autism community that would have been much harder if it were an in-person format. And then we also have our advocacy initiatives here. And advocacy, this is a space that we also really lean into relationships with other autism organizations. So our affiliates, we have an Autism Society of Tidewater and also an Autism Society of Northern Virginia. And so we really partnered with them, with the Virginia Autism Project, with Autism Speaks, with the Virginia Autism Foundation, to partner together to bring all of our communities together to be a unified voice to advocate for what we feel would be important to improve the lives of people with autism here in Virginia. I'm not going to spend too much time here talking about our scholarships because you know, you can jump on the website and check those out. But I think one thing I wanted to highlight that's been a really neat space to help build relationships in our social and recreational scholarships is that individuals with autism and families are coming to us applying for a scholarship to participate in social and recreational programming in the community. So they may be going to a community partner who's really educated when it comes to autism, but they also may be going to someone who isn't. And so it's bringing awareness to those providers. Those providers are then in turn coming to us for support, for education, and getting involved. So that's been a really neat space that we've also seen some exciting partnerships come for families, for individuals, and then also for community partners. Okay, now I'm going to hop back to my presentation. So Katie, please let me know if this doesn't come through. So one of the things I wanted to highlight as well is some testimonials that we've received from individuals and families as they've participated. Thank you, Katie, I see your thumbs up. As they participated in our programming. And I think I wanted to share these specifically because I felt like they really touched on the connections and the relationships that have come from the programming opportunities that we have been able to offer. So this first one is from a caregiver. From online Zoom meetings and support groups to the COVID-19 relief fund, the ASDCV is adapting to what members need. It's easy to feel isolated when you're parenting a child with autism. Add current events and it can feel like you're an island alone in a storm beyond your control. It's so nice to have support from the ASDCV to turn to. This is from one of the adults who participates in our social group. And they said, having the ability to connect with others virtually when we're unable to do it in person is very valuable to me. The ASCV is always thinking of opportunities or new ways to engage the autism community, no matter what age you are. So this picture is a night we did with the Science Museum. It was a paint night, and some of those pieces are actually currently hanging at the Science Museum. They have a gallery right now looking at art as a therapeutic support, and so some of our adults contributed their art. So we're very proud of that display right now in the community as well. This is from one of our siblings. They said, I plan to come every sib shop as a way to help me through this. And this sibling group has been really, they've been working on a sibling book throughout COVID as just like tips and strategies and ways to support other siblings, advice and things to share. And this has been a group that's really, really leaned in and taken advantage of the support that we've been able to offer during COVID. This is one of our teen participants. So the ASCV has meant so much to me in these past months. I met some of my closest friends here on virtual programs such as Teen Social Group and Comedy Sports Improv workshops have helped us stay in touch. I also enjoy doing the programs at the Science Museum and Art 180, as well as virtual workouts with Gentle East Martial Arts and River City Inclusive Gymnastics. I'd probably be really bored and lonely without the ASCV. This is one from one of our in-person events. We were able to do the pumpkin patch outside, and one of the caregivers wrote in and said this was our daughter's first trip to the pumpkin patch, and she had a fantastic time. It was really great for her to be in a place where she could be herself. The farm gave her space to physically and vocally spread out without having to be self-conscious about others looking at her, something she's only recently gained awareness of. Sam, this is from another caregiver. Sam, a very social guy, has loved the many virtual opportunities and events offered by the ASCV during the pandemic. He looks forward each week to the River City Inclusive Gymnastics workout, the Science Museum of Virginia classes, and other events. Thanks so much for keeping Sam connected to the community during these difficult times. And then one more that I wanted to share. This is from another one of our adult participants who said, the ASCV has helped me build a new community in an accessible way. The staff, facilitators, and fellow program attendees created welcoming and positive environments. It felt like, though we were all coming from different places and spaces, we were familiar with the same language. And then this is a piece of art that this individual put together that really, she felt expressed her world and kind of the different layers of her world and how we're all connected. So I wanted to pull in this last slide, just kind of highlighting what we are trying to do with our programming. So the goals are really to create unique and engaging interactive opportunities that are promoting the development of important life and social skills, increasing self-sufficiency, independence, and the quality of life, encouraging self-determination and meaningful participation in our local community, and then strengthening supports that are available to and the relationships between individuals with autism and their families. So I also want to, and then I think something that we have really noticed kind of indirectly coming from the power of connection and the relationships that we've built are really that we're able to use the connections and relationships that we're building and maintaining to help spread awareness about autism, promote acceptance within our community, and then ignite change when it comes to what our community is doing and how our community can better support our local autism community. So that is all I have in terms of my presentation, but I would love to answer any questions that might have come in. And I also had a couple questions that I would love to talk about as a group if there's time.
Yeah, the chat is open for anybody who wants to add some questions in there. For Sarah, you know, I just have to say, I didn't know very much at all about this wonderful resource in our community. And so it's been very helpful to me to just know more about what you all are doing. And the number of programs you're providing is amazing. So anybody else on the call, and on the meeting here, had you heard of these resources before, or is this new to you? Let's see, I'll give everybody a little bit of time to type something in.
And I think, Katie, like you said, I think it is, we know that there are people in the community that don't know about what we do. And I think that we have been working really hard, as I said, over the past couple of years, experiencing a lot of growth. Last year, we hosted 365 programs. So we averaged a program a day. But I think we're working really hard to be a resource for, you know, people, again, across the spectrum, across the lifespan. And so we're really trying to get to a space where we have something for everybody and something for all families. And so I'm really excited to be here and share with you and share with anybody who didn't know about us, just what we do have going on. And, you know, we would love for people to come learn more about us and get involved with us.
So many neat opportunities. Stacy says, what do you think individuals can do who aren't in Central Virginia to start these community connections?
I think that's a fantastic question. So I think for us, I think it's about figuring out kind of what resources are in your community, who is doing work that you could maybe collaborate. I think collaboration has been huge for us. So I think learning about what is in your community, if you are a service provider, I think getting feedback from your community. We do a lot of, you know, when COVID hit, we put out some surveys and small focus groups talking to families. What do you need? What would be helpful? Every kind of like semester, as I come up on a new one in terms of planning what we're going to be doing, I'm getting feedback from the teens. I'm getting feedback from the adults. I'm getting feedback from the caregivers as to what are the gaps? What do y'all need? What would you like to see? So I think figuring out what the needs are or finding people to partner with. And then I think really embracing the challenge of thinking outside of the box. I love to be creative and think about how we can host things that typically were in person, or how can we offer an alternative? So I think that those would be my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I love what you had to say about how you can really reach so many more people. So even being able to reach those people that aren't close into Central Virginia, yes, where some of that face-to-face programming would be happening.
Yes. And I think, Katie, to that point too, we've also learned that I think for us, and I think probably a lot of us are learning this, whether you're in the autism field or not, trying to think about post-COVID, what pieces of the virtual components we'll keep as permanent pieces, right? Because I think we are hearing, I think the attendance from some people who wouldn't be able to come in person, or based on other obligations, or based on resources in terms of driving, or we're able like to serve people that we wouldn't be able to serve in person. And so I think our challenge, and something we've already enjoyed brainstorming about, is thinking about how we'll keep some of these components in terms of maximizing our accessibility.
Yeah, our world has changed.
It has.
And it will move forward differently, I'm sure, in a lot of respects. But Kim has an item here. She's looking to know, how many staff and volunteers do you have that carry out these programs? She says she's in the Fredericksburg area, and so she refers a lot of folks to your organization. So just wanted to kind of get a feel for that.
Sure. Well, first of all, Kim, thank you so much for referring people to us. We are so grateful every time referrals come to us. So thank you, and keep them coming. In terms of staff and volunteers, so our team, we have 3 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff. On the program side, I am full-time, and I have a part-time colleague that works with me on program logistics and implementation. We have got 2 recreational facilitators that will support with some of the programming. I also jump in and facilitate a good bit of them as well. And then we've got support from our board. Stacy is on our program committee, so there's some support there. So we've got a really great group that works very hard together, but we're relatively small in terms of our resources. So we're always looking for volunteers. The virtual space is a little bit tricky in terms of volunteers. Pre-COVID, we would have volunteer opportunities for our Lego and Game Club, for a bowling program that I didn't talk about today because it's not happening right now with COVID. But we are always looking for passionate, creative, invested people who would like to volunteer and support us.
Yeah, and so maybe that structure will evolve more as you identify which things are gonna be able to move forward face-to-face versus virtually. And
Sure. And I think there could be a unique space that we could have some virtual volunteers while our team is in person. So the virtual component is going to be a really neat space to just see how it all pans out.
Definitely. Sandra, thank you for joining into the chat. It says she wasn't familiar with it, and she's just so grateful for, Lunch and Learn bringing some of these topics to her attention. And Yeah, definitely. COVID structure is going to be, the post-COVID structure is going to be an important thing, and considering accessibility and all of those ways as well. So
Absolutely.
lots of things to think about. Any other questions to roll through? Or Sarah, you said you had some you might want to throw out to the group too.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I am constantly, my brain is constantly working and thinking around what do people need? How can we meet those needs? How can we bring people together to meet those needs? My husband jokingly is like, turn off the psychology brain. I'm like, I just can't. It's really like, so I guess for me, I'm wondering in this group, I would love to hear where people see gaps in their communities, or programming and support they'd like to see in their communities. I'd love to hear that if anybody has ideas around that. Even if you're not in Central Virginia, that's okay. I'd just be really curious to hear where people are seeing those gaps and hoping for programming to fill those gaps.
Definitely. We'll give folks a few minutes here to get their typing done. And how do you, just while we're waiting on that, Sarah, how do you typically, get this feedback? Are you sending out surveys at the end of programming, or are you to a mailing list, or what? How are you kind of doing
Sure, that's a great question. So we do it in a couple of ways. I think we were, for a little while, we were sending surveys after each program, but I also then, based on increasing the frequency of our programming, it felt a little bit obnoxious, especially too right now. I think we're all being inundated with like virtual email and information. So it felt a little bit obnoxious to be sending an email each week about getting feedback about a program on a monthly basis, or a kind of a workshop series where there were different topics. That was always really helpful. But we will also send out programming surveys. So I will create a survey and send it out to a Google form to kind of targeted subsets of our following. So if it's specifically, I sent one out about adult programming that our adults would like to see in the spring. I sent out a summer camp survey last year. We did an elementary social skills group in the fall, and I sent out, a survey trying to get some information about specific skills that individuals and families would like to see targeted. And then there's also, I love the opportunity to ask people in person, right? So kind of just informally, how is this? What do you have any ideas? And then if we were in person, a space where we could do in-person gatherings, I think, kind of small focus groups is always a great space too, especially when we're kind of creating something new or trying to take on, go in a different direction than we've gone before. So kind of variety of ways, but most heavily relying on kind of surveys or participant feedback. Often our members will share with us, or our participants will share with us, which is really nice too. And it's incredibly helpful.
Great. And forgive me if I missed this earlier, but is there a place on your website that we can sign up for a mailing list to just learn about programming that's coming up?
Yes, there is. So there should be a spot. I'm gonna stop this for a second. There should be a spot on our website under, let me see. I think if you hit contact at the very top in the very top right hand corner, you can submit a quick message, just name, email, and just say you'd like to be added to the email list. But for ease of that too, if you are interested in being on our resource list, I'm happy for you to send your email in the chat and I can grab it and send you. So either option is fine.
Okay, great.
And it's okay if no one had answers to my question. I just was curious if anybody had anything to add in terms of gaps they see.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard on the fly. It's hard on the fly sometimes to think about what is that thing that's missing, or what is sort of the, because I think those things sort of evolve as you're going through a process of, say, searching for a job, or the transition from middle to high school, or whatever the different times are. So she says, or you can, Stacy, did you see her?
She did. So I'm going to share with y'all, since we have a couple minutes, I'm going to share on our website, let me just move this bar really quick, that on our website where it's become a member. So we do have, not all of our programming is open to the community. So we have some programming, as I spoke about, in terms of our member events and some virtual programming that's only open to our members. Our education and training and our support groups are always open to the community. And when we have a fee-based, I should say, when we have a fee-based opportunity, most of ours are free to our members, but when we have a fee-based opportunity, we do offer scholarships. But I'll pull this up, Stacy, thank you for the prompt, just to talk a little bit about the 3 different membership options that we have. So we have a household membership, and it's $52 for the year, and that includes, so those member events I was talking about, so it includes our pool party, the flying squirrels game, the summer event, the pumpkin patch, the trunk or treat, the holiday party, all free of charge for your entire family. We also have the social and recreational programming, so our teen groups, our elementary social groups, the recreational programming that I was talking about with like Art 180, comedy sports, Gentle Use Martial Arts, the Science Museum, all of our fantastic partners. That is open only to our members, and it's free of charge to our members. When we have a fee-based opportunity like our summer camps or our skill development groups or the conference series, we do a decreased rate for our members. So there's always a lower amount for our members. And then we also have an Autism Society Central Virginia membership benefits program. So this is kind of like, I describe this as our Kroger Plus card. And so we basically have 20-ish partners in the community who offer a special perk, a discount, a buy one, get one free, you name it. And at their business or organization specifically for ASCV members. It's a little bit tricky right now because not everybody is able to do that with COVID, but our participating partners that are up on our website for our members. The self-advocate membership is $12 for the year, and it includes all of the benefits that I just talked about, plus some additional opportunities for self-advocates. So we are going to have some workshops this year that are only open to our members, also some social and recreational programming to add on to our social group and the programming that we do with Free Horse Arts, which is a fantastic community partner of ours. In addition to those, we're going to add some other social and recreational opportunities. And then finally, this is a new opportunity for us just this year, starting in February. We created a professional membership. We have been so grateful for the involvement of our local community when it comes to professionals. And we wanted to think about how we could offer that support in return. And so as a professional member, it's $120 for the year. And the reason that's higher is it includes a complimentary registration for our conference. So it's a $75 value, free to you as a professional member. And you also get all of those household benefits as well. And then we're also going to be doing quarterly events, some networking events, some different training opportunities. So that is open just to professionals. And then I will say that if you look at this and you feel like we have some resources that would really benefit you or your family, but these prices don't work for you right now, we have membership scholarships on our website. You just go to resources and scholarships and you can apply for a membership scholarship with us.
Very cool. And I dropped the link to the website in the chat for everybody, so you can go there right now and take a look.
Thank you.
And get in there. So. Okay, well, if we don't have anything else for Sarah, I guess we do really want to just mention what we have coming up next week for Lunch and Learn. And we actually will be talking about self-determination at home and in the community with Teresa Koger. She's from the VCUA's team. And I'm going to drop the link to register for that there for everybody too. So we hope that you can join us next week. And you have a direct connection here now to Sarah, so I'm sure you can email her with any additional questions you may have about the Autism Society. So yeah,
thanks so much, Katie and VCUAs for having me, and thank you everyone for being here today. I hope it was helpful, and I'd love to hear from you if you're interested in getting involved or want to learn more.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your Thursday.
Thank you.